With the latest announcement by Microsoft, $2.2 billion of investment in Malaysia, what does this mean to Malaysians at large? I'm having a conversation with the man himself, a tech visionary, the driving force behind the world's most influential companies, Satya Nadella of Microsoft. Let's hear from him, including his keynote address.
Good morning and welcome to our developer conference, and it's fantastic to be back here in KL and spending time learning about everything that's going on around technology and the broader economy in the country. And you know, I've been at Microsoft now for 32 years, lived through the client-server transition, and then the web and the internet, and subsequently the mobile cloud, and now here we are in the age of AI. I sort of describe this as the year 2 of the age of AI, and so I wanted to spend some time talking a little bit about the possibilities for everyone in the room in this age. Clearly, the scaling laws behind some of these next generation models continue to really surprise us and work in exponential ways. And you now have these capabilities, right? Whether it's take the natural language interface, right? Now the original dream of the sort of the founders of computing, like Engelbart, was always, can we have computers that understand us versus us understanding computers? We are finally at that point where you now have the most natural user interface, which can be speech and text and vision, both input and output, and it's just only getting more and more powerful. We also have more reasoning and planning capability, right? We have been digitizing information all through, but now you have a new reasoning engine and a planning engine to apply on top of all of that digitized information. And of course, you can add more context, more memory, both long-term and short-term memory to these interactions. So it's a pretty phenomenal pace with which the capabilities of these AI models, as well as the layers around the AI model, are all evolving. But ultimately, though, it's not about just the technology. To me, any technology is only useful if it can drive, ultimately, economic output and productivity in any country, right? So for me, what does this mean? It means ultimately in the region, what's the incremental GDP growth? Something like $155 billion, more than 14% incremental GDP growth is projected through AI across all sectors, right? It can be in healthcare, it can be in education, it can be in retail, it can be in energy. So that's the real opportunity of AI, and it's fantastic to see that opportunity, and to seize that opportunity, we ground ourselves in our mission to empower every person and every organization in Malaysia to be able to achieve more. That's ultimately how we want to realize our mission here. And to that end, we are building out a complete cloud infrastructure and a cloud stack, starting with infrastructure to data, to the tools, to the application layers, so that you can now have the power of all of this technology so that you can build more technology. Because we as a platform company are very, very focused on building world-class platforms to empower every developer, every company here to be able to build more. And of course, all of us collectively also want to drive business outcomes, right? Every organization wants to improve how they interact with customers, how they interact with their own employees, how they bring about efficiency in every business process internally, as well as bend the curve on innovation in any organization, right? Those are ultimately the business outcomes that we focus on. And to be able to sort of drive that is really our collective opportunity. Now, to go about it, I would say there are 3 things that any organization, whether it's in public sector or in private sector, whether you're a small startup or a large company, that I think one should take advantage of. The first imperative for me is adopt the best, latest tools inside the enterprise, inside the organization. In other words, don't reinvent the wheel. And that was the inspiration behind Copilot. We wanted to build out Copilot so that you have the ability to tap into the world's knowledge as well as knowledge inside your organizations, and then to be able to really act on that knowledge. That was the vision behind Copilot. We best captured it, I would say, in an ad that we played at the Super Bowl a few months ago. So I just wanted to roll that video to give you a flavor for it.
Good morning.
I truly love the spirit it captures, right? It's not about the technology, it's about watching me do things, right? It's the ability to create, whether it's a document, an image, or code. It's about being able to decide, make better judgment decisions, and then ultimately to act on all of it, right? So to me, that's the real power of AI in the hands of every person and every organization. And we're already seeing unbelievable data around productivity, right? So when we deploy Microsoft 365 Copilot, we're seeing organizations able to move things faster. In fact, just like how in supply chains people talk about inventory turns, we talk about knowledge turns. That means knowledge is getting created faster and diffused faster throughout the organization. Supply chains are more efficient. Financial operations are more efficient. Your customer operations are more efficient. So we are really seeing, of course, in software development, we're seeing that with GitHub Copilot, which is tremendous to see. Even with things like Copilot Studio, it's even for the low-code, no-code folks that really are driving productivity. So the Copilot age is clearly here, I would say, really getting these deployed. In fact, right here in Malaysia, we have many examples of customers, like Petronas is deploying it across the board, PNB, AmBank, as well as the public sector is deploying it inside. Prima has deployed it to just make themselves more efficient and the workflows more efficient inside the organization. So it's good to see how quickly this technology is not just being developed, but it's being diffused and used throughout the organization. Now, talking about software developers, GitHub, of course, is the place where developers call home. And it's great to see that we have more than 600,000 developers right here in Malaysia. It's growing 28% year over year, so there's tremendous amount of growth in the GitHub community. And one of the fascinating things has been Copilot for GitHub, right? We conceived, in fact, that's probably the first hit product of this generative AI age. And when we conceived it a few years ago, when we said there can be an AI pair programmer for every software developer, a little bit we know that it would become the thing that every software developer now loves to use to be able to sort of really bring back the joy in programming, bring back the flow in programming. Because in some sense, we had taken some of that out because of so much of the stuff that was happening out of band from, say, even being immersed in your IDE and staying in the flow. And the AI pair programmers brought that back. And now, just a couple of days ago, we launched the next phase of it, which I think is going to be really revolutionary, which is GitHub Copilot Workspaces is in technical preview, which completely now takes what is just a Copilot, which is an AI pair programmer, to the next level where you now start with an issue that comes in, a plan gets generated, that plan that you can then as a developer edit, and then that plan gets executed across the entire repo. That means you can edit multiple files, accept the changes, and then you put a pull request. So think about what an entire workflow of a software engineering team looks like with GitHub Copilot Workspaces. So to show you that, I wanted to invite up on stage my colleague Karan to show you GitHub Copilot workspaces and GitHub Copilot itself. Karan, welcome.
Thanks, Satya.
Let me shake your hand.
Thank you. All right. Today, I'll show you what GitHub Copilot can do for you and how it can help you be more productive. And I'll also give you a preview of GitHub Copilot Workspace that we announced this week. All right. So now I want to add some sign-up functionality to this website I'm building in TypeScript with GitHub Copilot. So first, let's add a sign-up button. So I'll write a comment for it, and GitHub Copilot writes the code for me, working with me along the way. Nice. I'll accept that. Now, next, I want to make sure my users are entering valid email addresses, and I need some help with that. I have a regular expression here, but it's hard to read. With GitHub Copilot, it truly feels like I'm working with a pair programmer. In this case, I can ask it to help explain code that I'm unfamiliar with, even if it's a regular expression. I can even do this in Malay by asking it, what does this regex do? Fantastic. You can see that GitHub Copilot is picking up its cues on what language to answer in based on how I ask the question. Now, GitHub Copilot chat can also be invoked inline, so it can work with the code in place. To get to it, just hit Control or Command-I. Now, I'm going to ask Copilot to help me write the entire sign-up page, asking for email, password, and password confirmation. And again, I'm going to do this in Malay. Amazing. You can see that Copilot didn't just understand what I wanted, but it's actually written the entire code for me. There it is. That looks good, so I'll accept that change. But like me, GitHub Copilot doesn't just live in the editor. It's also with me on github.com. So GitHub Copilot can now provide a description of changes in a pull request. It doesn't just list the changes. It also gives you useful, meaningful description of what the change does. And it even gives you deep links to specific lines of code that I've changed. And there it is. That's it. I've shown you how your multilingual pair programmer can help you be more productive. But there's more. Today, I'm excited to show you the technical preview of GitHub Copilot Workspace, a Copilot native development environment that helps you jumpstart every task while working in natural language. Let's see it live in our demo. Now, so far, we've written a sign-up page, but we also need a login page, right? So we can start off right from an issue where our requirements are described and begin development with Copilot Workspace. Copilot Workspace derives context from your issue and your code base to create a detailed specification with proposed changes. It generates a plan on how the specification can be implemented by referencing relevant files in the code base. Copilot also helps you implement this plan by making changes to relevant files in the code base. Now, you can also make edits to the specification, the plan, or the implementation to suit your needs. So I'm going to make one small edit right here within my browser to suit my application. I'm going to just add this. Now, Copilot Workspace also comes with a complete development environment running in Azure, complete even with a terminal right here in your browser. You can also see a live preview of your app running in this development environment, so you can quickly iterate and see what code you're building, edit, and make it suit your needs. So here is the live preview that is running right here. And let's take a look at the page that Copilot has written for me, which is the login page. And there it is. In very, very less time, we were able to go from idea to code to software, all while working in natural language with the help of GitHub Copilot Workspace. Thank you. Back to you, Satya.
Thank you so much, Karan. Every time he hits / explain on regular expressions, programming looks easier again. It's just wonderful to see. And I think that this GitHub Copilot Workspaces, as I said, is probably going to be one of the most transformative things, because in one of the benefits of a software development environment is you even have these reasoning traces, because you have a compiler, you have an interpreter, and the ability to then be able to use AI to guide even the entire process with the human in the loop, I think is a very powerful prototype of what I think you can expect in many, many other domains. So we are very excited about this. Now, the next imperative I want to talk about is all around the all-up cloud infrastructure that you can use to build your AI, right? So we talked about how we're building all these co-pilots, and one of the things we've done is we've taken all of the underlying services and the primitives and made it available as first-class part of Azure as Copilot stack, starting at the very bottom with infrastructure. You know, in Azure, we have more regions than any other cloud provider today, with 60+ regions, 300+ data centers. The Malaysian region is coming live later this year. And on top of that, we are expanding. I'm really pleased to announce today that we are expanding our investment in Malaysia with $2.2 billion. So we really want to make sure that we have world-class infrastructure right here in the country, so that every organization, every software developer, every startup can use it to really not only build for this country, but for the world and the region. And so we are very excited about that. So that means world-class AI infrastructure, right? Whether it's powered by accelerators from NVIDIA, AMD, or our Microsoft's own accelerators, Maya. They're all going to be available in our cloud infrastructure for both training as well as for inference. So we will always have some of the best performing infrastructure. We will also have the widest selection of models, right? We will have the frontier models like Azure OpenAI. We will also have all the open source models. We will have great support. In fact, one of the other things that I'm very excited about is not just the LLMs, but the SLMs, the small language models. Microsoft's leading the way. In fact, just last week, we launched Phi, which is, it's unbelievable. If you think about it by parameter count for performance ratio, it's best in class, right? A 3 billion parameter is performing better than 7, 8 billion parameter models out there. And I think, you know, the basic insight there is that you can really use synthetic data to be able to train these models to be able to perform. So I think the combination of frontier models, open source models, these SLM models really put the power back in the hands of developers to be able to optimize for all of the various design considerations, right? For really performance, for latency, for COGS. These are all the things that we all as developers will care about. And now you have an unbelievable selection of models to be able to exercise those design decisions. We're not just building models on tokens around human language. We're also building models with the language of science, right? So one of the most exciting things that I think will, in the years to come, we'll find is that we will have real breakthroughs in the scientific process itself that will really accelerate our ability to create new materials, new compounds and molecules, right? So one of the things that we recently did was use a material science model to generate a new compound, which we then fabricated, where we were able to reduce the lithium content by 70% for a new battery, right? So think about the energy transition priority that we all have, and to be able to use AI to really help us accelerate the energy transition. I always say, can we compress 250 years of progress in chemistry into the next 25 years? And it seems that it's possible. On the other extreme, even in biology, we are working, for example, with Giddy, which is really helping with TB drug discovery. Unfortunately, TB still exists. It's still a fatal disease, and it mutates. And so that's why we need to discover new drugs. And in order to speed up that discovery, we are working with Giddy and some of the models around drug discovery. So this is an exciting space for us. Of course, once you have the model, you have the infrastructure, you have the models, the next big consideration is the data estate. Ultimately, in order to train, in order to fine-tune, in order to ground your models, you need your data. And so for that, we are building out the full data estate from the operational stores to the analytics in Azure. Fabric, for example, I think is a real breakthrough when it comes to a very unified approach to the analytics stack. And it also comes with all the other databases, whether it's Oracle, Snowflake, Databricks. We bring all of that so that you have the best data estate that is AI native. And so we are really working very, very hard on the data side. And of course, we wrap it all into a fantastic integrated developer chain, right? So to me, it always gives me great pride. Microsoft was founded in 1975 as a developer company. We built the basic interpreter for the Altair. That was our first product. And here we are, nearly 50 years after, still celebrating developer tools like GitHub Copilot and GitHub Copilot workspaces. So to us, really focusing on the tool chain for software developers, the professional software developers, as well as the low-code, no-code tools, and bringing all of that together into one robust tool chain for any organization is a huge priority. And one of the other things, of course, is we're very invested in developer skilling. We have the AI Odyssey program. It's great to see even lots of developers going through the program, even in Malaysia. I think we have 2,000 plus who have gone through the Odyssey program. I think some of them are here in the audience, so let's give them a round of applause. And we have many, many customers. I had a chance to just meet lots of developers who are building AI solutions right here using some of these technologies I just talked about. An agri-tech company that is using everything from IoT to AI and even humanoid robots to completely revolutionize agriculture. Healthcare, that's another place where they're building. Think about healthcare as the one place where you can really transform how you give medical advice, how you change the physician productivity and focus on the patient. Another area is education. And of course, even large enterprises like Prudential are able to completely transform everything when it comes to their customer experience, when it comes to their agent experience, and deploying some of these AI tools broadly within their enterprise. So it's fantastic to see, again, how fast this technology is becoming real in the hands of software developers here, and then, of course, real in the broader society, right? Coming to Malaysia and to know that there are AI tutors available in education, there are AI doctors available for medical advice, or there is agri-tech being revolutionized by AI. That's unbelievable in terms of the speed of diffusion of tech. Now, the last imperative I want to talk about, though, is as we talk about all this technology, there is one more important consideration for us. One, that is security and safety and trust. Because ultimately, all technology adoption is governed by our ability to trust that technology. So to that end, we are really making sure that we double down on our Secure Future initiative. This is something we started in November of last year. It is all about shifting left, right, which is about security by design, security by default, and security operations. These are the three major design principles for us, and we're really driving that across 6 pillars, and we intend to make rapid progress on really ensuring the best security for all of the cyber estates that we protect, and sharing all of this as a robust set of end-to-end products that you can use to implement zero trust environments right inside of your organization. Everything from endpoint protection to identity to app and infra protection, as well as compliance. So bringing all of that into one product family that you can then safely deploy. Of course, when it comes to AI safety, even here we start with some promises we make to every organization. One is that your data is your data. We don't train on your data. We want to ensure that anything that you have trained and built as models are protected using, again, that world-class security. And lastly, protecting copyright, as well as indemnifying you as you use our products and tools on any copyright litigation. So those are the things that we want to make sure are delivered as promises to you. And we have also taken a very principled approach to safe deployment of AI. In fact, back in 2016 is when we came up with AI principles, and we have now translated these principles into engineering practices. that we have also then developed them as services in Azure AI. So when you use Azure AI, you have all the safety services right there that you can use when you're building a healthcare app, an insurance app, or any application. You can use the same set of services we use in order to do safety around our applications like Copilot and use that in practice as you deploy them. So we're very, very focused on responsible AI software development. Now, I want to close out where I started, which is our mission ultimately is about empowering every person and every organization in Malaysia to be able to achieve more. At the end of the day, for us, it's about being able to really ensure that the human capital is getting all the skills, right? Whether it's in primary school or in graduate school, whether it is in computer science education or in liberal arts education. How do we ensure that the right skills are there for the economy that is getting created, the jobs that are getting created, so that we can all, in the age of AI, exercise our opportunity and exercise our economic well-being. And so to me, that is, I think, the most paramount importance. And so to that end, we're very excited about another announcement we made this week, around 2.5 million people in ASEAN getting skilled in AI. We will have more than 200,000 people in Malaysia getting skilled in AI. So it's exciting to see that. And I wanted to leave you with one story of, I had a chance to meet with two women who are taking advantage of this program. And in fact, one of them was a kindergarten teacher who now has gotten the certification around AI and now is becoming a trainer on AI in her community, and especially with women in her community and bringing them into this new opportunity set. So we are really excited about it. Let me leave you with that video. Thank you so much and have the rest of the year. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Nadella, for making a time for Astro AWANI, and we are delighted. In fact, such an honor to have you around with your big announcement, and $2.2 billion of investment is just wow. The question here is, Mr. Nadella, what does this mean to Malaysia and, of course, Malaysians at large?
Yeah, first of all, it's fantastic to be back here in KL and in Malaysia. And yes, we're very, very excited about the investment we are making in expanding really our data center footprint in Malaysia, and really bringing world-class cloud infrastructure and AI infrastructure right here, so that it can really ultimately translate into what the Malaysian society and economy at large does with it, right? It's the next startup that really takes advantage of this as input and creates the next big hit product for the world, not just the region. The small business in Malaysia that becomes more productive by using these co-pilots that are powered by AI, or public sector that becomes more efficient, better education outcomes, health outcomes. So ultimately, our business is about creating local economic opportunity and economic surplus. And to that end, we are excited to make our investments in terms of bringing cloud infrastructure.
And as far as I could remember, since my primary school days, Microsoft has been a great partner for the past 3 decades. And now we are at this transition where Microsoft is going to help Malaysia to leapfrogging Malaysia to another point of transformation.
Yeah, it's interesting that you make that observation, because I've been at Microsoft now for 32 years and lived through the PC client-server era, and subsequently the web internet, and then mobile cloud, and this is like the 4th one that I've been lucky enough to participate in. The interesting thing to your observation is the diffusion rate, right? If you think about PC showed up in the United States or in the West, and then they showed up elsewhere with a lag. The internet was faster. The mobile cloud was faster, but this is even faster, right? I mean, literally this morning I had the chance to spend time, with an agri-tech company, a healthcare company, a company that's doing fascinating work in education, large multinationals out of this, all adopting AI technology that was developed just even like a few months ago in the west coast of the United States. So there is no rate of change, there's no difference in the speed with which companies and organizations can use technology. So that means you're absolutely right. Malaysia has all of the opportunity to leapfrog by taking advantage of what is probably going to be one of the seminal new inputs to driving economies.
As a continuation of what we've been discussed in Davos during the World Economic Forum this year, and also the Riyadh last week, the anxious around Gen AI and AI is still around. But one good thing about this situation is that across the board, some sort of having this understanding, there must be a red line cannot be crossed. And the question here between the global north and global south, of course, the point of red line itself. But overall, when it comes to the intersection, where the government, businesses, SMEs, students, users per se, it revolves around one word, which is trust. And what's your observation for the past, since the day of heat refresh out in the market and until now?
Yeah, I think you bring up ultimately the ability for a society or an economy to adopt some new technology at scale rests not just on the technology and its availability, but in the trust we have in that technology, that it will actually be something that's virtuous, that's going to be beneficial for the broader society. So in that context, I'm really glad we are having the conversation around both the amazing things that AI will do for us, right? Will give, like after all, AI will enable every citizen, every student in Malaysia to have a personalized tutor, every citizen of Malaysia to have better medical advice, and that's fantastic. But we also have risks, right? So therefore, we have to even deal with these risks here and now. And so, for example, take even elections and deepfakes, right? Indeed. So that's a real concern for any democracy. And so therefore, we are working with, along with many organizations in the tech industry, outside the tech industry, to create, for example, a provenance service, a watermarking standard, all of these technological things. Plus, this is a socio-technical challenge, right? This is not just a technical challenge. So therefore, we also need, like the Christchurch call, we need to have the equivalent for protecting our democracies so that we can have takedowns of any deepfakes and so on. So, and norms between political parties even. So I think that there is a lot that needs to be done in order to mitigate the risks of broad deployment. And same thing in financial inclusion or in healthcare access, right? When if AI is making some decisions, we need to make sure it's not biased and it's more equitable and inclusive. And these are things that we should apply current regulations to even the AI that is being deployed. And of course, to your point, if we have a runaway AI challenge, we need to also have regulations for it, or really a set of standards that get established on how models get trained, models get deployed, and models get classified in terms of their risk. And so I think we're all in the midst of all figuring all of this out. But the good news is we're having a rich dialogue, and good solutions are being found for the risk as we go along, versus waiting for the unintended consequences to have scale effects.
Right. Well, the engagement is ongoing and crafting the right ecosystem to it. And I think now is the best time to actually really put into place, for example, in Malaysia, we're quite behind in terms of technology, same like other global south countries or economies. But the beauty of it is we can have some sort of lesson learned from the global north, and what to do and what not to do in terms of putting the right regulations. So in terms of regulation itself, maybe what would be your advice to the whole system of creating, implementing AI?
I think that, my simple sort of take would be to be able to use some form of a risk-based framework to think about regulations, right? But, right now, if you take a middle-income country like Malaysia, one of the great benefits of any new technology that comes as a source of driver or a driver of economic growth the first priority should be about how quickly can this technology be diffused throughout the economy so that the benefits in healthcare and education, in financial services, in energy transition, all of these are really going to be helpful. But on top of that, I think taking a risk-based approach, which is really about the society broadly legislating any deployment of new technology, such that the benefits far outweigh the risks. I think that that's the best thing that we can do.
In this era, I think we are at a great juncture where we're going to see a lot of strange things might appear later on, and one of those advice to the society is that stay agile and stay resilient. And what would be your advice, or what would you say to the naysayers of this particular juncture of change where AI is here to stay?
You know, look, I think ultimately I would say to any naysayer, I would take anything that they are bringing up, whether it's risk or even, so let's face it, the overhype of any technology. Those are all, I think, good, right? We can learn from anyone who criticizes, because ultimately the proof will be in what is it doing. We have to sort of, even for me, it's not just about the technology, it's the impact. That's why whenever I'm here in Malaysia, I'm really looking for that real hard evidence. The real hard evidence that it's helping small businesses become productive, or large multinationals right here in the region will become more competitive, right? The public sector become more efficient, the education outcomes, the health outcomes getting better. As long as there is real hard evidence that technology is really helping with that, then the naysayers will be answered. If not, we should take their naysaying and use it to inspire us to do a better job.
Right. What's your assessment, scale 1 to 5, 5 is the best, on your observation with all the industry players here in Malaysia?
To me, I think it's an unbelievable opportunity, quite frankly, because I think that when I look at the next generation of infrastructure that is needed in a country that needs to take advantage of this opportunity, you need to have great energy sources and investments, great telecommunications network. I think the country's done a great job of really deploying 5G and fiber and satellite. And now, we are also investing in building out the compute utility. So you take those three things, I would say Malaysia has a tremendous opportunity. Now what it'll come down to is, how do you not only build this infrastructure, but how you use this infrastructure to change every aspect of the Malaysian society and economy. And that, I think, time will tell, but I'm very, very optimistic about it.
If you could share, just to capture the imagination of the future for the next small little future of 4 years of the timeline of the investment of 2.2 B, and also the 300,000 Malaysian that's
skilling
upskilling, and what to expect throughout these 4 years of the
I mean, I'm very, very hopeful that, if you and I are sitting here in 4 years' time, we will have, what was stunning to me is even spending today here and learning about all of these new startups and large companies that are already deploying latest technology. In fact, 4 years from now, what's that hit product that got created in Malaysia that is lit up all over the world? What is that breakthrough that has happened because of the access to the latest technology here in the local economy that has had a transformative effect in, say, the social surplus that it creates, whether it's in education or in healthcare. So those would be two places where, at least if you and I are sitting here and celebrating a hit company out of Malaysia, and really looking at better health outcomes and better education outcomes for every citizen of Malaysia, that will be a fantastic future to look forward to.
What would be your advice to, again, across all, from Prime Minister Anwar to all ministers as well as the industry captains?
Oh, I mean, I think the advice is the advice I give myself, right? Which is, is to be able to sort of lean in to the future and to be able to make sure. And I thought the conversation I had with the Prime Minister was really inspiring. He was very well he definitely was very, very focused on making sure that this new technology was available and more importantly was being used to benefit the broader Malaysian society, and he was very focused on it, and it was good to hear him really be supportive of it.
Okay, I think last but not least, Mr. Nadella, I've read your hit refresh and your approach in business, and I think this is one of the great philosophy in which you emphasize on a partnership rather than competition. And what we have learned so much in Davos this year is that competition, cooperate and compete at the same time. And what would be your advice on that?
Yeah, I mean, look, I've grown up in a company that fundamentally is a platform company, and platform companies are only stable if you have a lot of value that gets created above the platform, right? And the only way to achieve that is through partnerships, right? It's partnerships with countries, partnerships with companies, and across all constituents. So I fundamentally believe that partnerships are instrumental in creating value in society and in economies and for companies. And so yes, absolutely, we will always be a platform company and a partner company, I think, is how I think of Microsoft.
When is your next book going to go out in the market again?
You know, right now I'm very, very focused on year 2 of AI, and I'll wait and see when the opportunity arises.
Yeah. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you so
Mr.
much.
Nadella.
Such a pleasure.
Wonderful, such a pleasure to have a conversation with you.